My name's Todd Miranda, and in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to use video in a WPF application. So let's begin in Microsoft Visual Studio 2008. Choose File, New Project, and we're going to choose a project, a WPF application project, and we'll name this accordingly. Target the .NET Framework 3.5 and choose OK. So that's going to create our default template for us for a WPF application. And you see that we've got a window and we've got a grid as our layout panel. So we'll leave the grid as our layout panel. We're going to go up and we're going to increase the width and the height of our window, however, to give us just a little bit more space to work with. Alright, now I said that this video was about including video in a WPF application project. So we've got to have a video in order to do that with. So let's go up to Project, Add Existing Item, and let's go into the Public folder, and in Public Videos, and let's do Files of all type, all files. Let's choose the butterfly video, and that'll add the video to our project. Now one of the things that we want to do is we want to click on our butterfly.wmv file, and we want to, where we have a copied output directory, just make that copy always. And that way we're always sure that the video is going to be in our output directory, and that way we can use a relative path to actually get to that video. Alright, so let's see the very simplest way to add video to a project. The least thing that we have to do in order to get video playing in our project. So we're going to add a media element to our XAML. Now if you've used audio in your WPF applications, you're familiar with media element. This is the same media element. It plays all types of media. So it plays not only audio, but it plays video. So let's go into the source property, and let's just set that to butterfly.wmv, and then we're going to close our media element. Alright, so right there, without doing anything else, let's build our project. And it build succeeded. So let's run our project. There's our window. And we'll see that our video gets loaded. And there's our video playing in our window. Alright? So fairly simple to add, video to your WPF applications in its default format. One thing to note about this video is watch how it behaves when we resize the form. So as we stretch the form vertically or horizontally, notice how the video changes size within the window. And that's because by default the type of stretch set for the video is one that causes the entire video to always show, and it's going to shrink or expand so that the video maintains its default aspect ratio and is completely visible within whatever space you have available. So let's take a better look at some of those options for how we're going to have the video stretch, or how we're going to have the video fill the area that we're displaying it in. So I'm going to add a border to the project, and I'm going to set the border brush equals to red and the border thickness equal to 2. That way it'll be very easy to see. Now I'm also going to set the width of our border to, let's say, 300, and the height, let's say, to maybe to 200. Alright, and I'm going to move our media element inside the border. Alright, so now I'm going to go and I'm going to specify the stretch for the media element. And you'll see that we've got 4 options available to us. The ones that we want to look at are how fill, uniform, and uniform to fill behave. So let's just start with fill. And let's run that. So we've set our border to 300 by 200, and you see that the video is going to stretch to fill the space that it has available to it. So it's filling the entire area. And I'll tell you what, just to make it even more evident what we're doing there, let's set the width to 400. So we're really going to increase the width. We'll leave the height exactly the same, and we'll see what happens to the video. This will be a little bit more evident when the window loads, because you'll see that our video has actually been stretched horizontally to fill the space. Notice you can tell really with the flower here that it's kind of been stretched in the X direction. So fill tells the video to fill the space, to scale itself or to stretch itself in any direction it needs to, but to fill the entire area that you've got available to you. Well, this can cause the video to be distorted. So it's a great way to fill an area with video, but it can cause some distortion in the video because it changes the aspect ratio of the video. So just something to keep in mind with a stretch of fill. Alright, so let's change this to uniform, and then we're going to run it again. Alright, you see that uniform is going to increase the size of the video or decrease the size of the video, maintaining its original aspect ratio, but to fill either the horizontal or the vertical space. So in this case, it filled horizontally, it filled vertically, it couldn't fill horizontally, but it maintained its default aspect ratio and stretched uniformly, still maintaining its same aspect ratio and having all of the video be visible. So whatever was the smallest constraining proportion, whether that be the width or the height, that's the proportion, or that's the constraint that set the size of the video effectively. All right, now let's look at uniform to fill, which is just slightly different. Okay, now if you can notice, some of the video has been cut off. So uniform to fill says fill the largest proportion, whether that be width or height, fill it completely, maintain your aspect ratio, even though the other proportion, whether that be width or height, may cause the video to be clipped. So uniform to fill says fill the largest space and clip any of the video that might extend beyond the smaller proportion. Likewise, to go back and review, uniform says fill the smallest constraint and leave extra space if necessary where you couldn't fill the larger constraint. Alright, so a media element is a video in a media element behaves just like any other element in XAML, and that means that we can do lots of things to it. So for instance, let's go into our media element and let's set its opacity to 0.5. Oh, and there were build errors. It would help if I left the closing tag there. Let's run that again. So I've set the opacity to half. So in this place you can see that we've got some opacity to our video. So we can set opacity in our video. We can also do things like this. Media element.clip, and then we'll come in here and we'll just do an ellipse geometry, something simple. Center will be at let's put it halfway across. Let's do 4. Well, not, yeah, that's fine. So half of 400 is 200, and half of 200 is 100. And then we'll say radius x equals, let's say maybe 50, and radius y equals 75. Alright, So that gives us a clipping region, and we're going to clip the video. So let's take a look at how that affects it. Alright, so we've clipped our video just to this small oval right here. And we can even transform our element. So let's go into here and let's do media element dot render transform. We'll close my error window. And let's just do a rotate transform. Rotate transform, angle equals, let's say, maybe 30 degrees, or let's say 45 degrees. And we'll say center X equals, or better yet, because we'll come back and do some other stuff in just a second, let's go up to our media element, and let's set its render transform origin to be 0.5, 0.5. So we'll just set it right in the center. And let's run that. So now we've got a clipping region, and we've applied a render transform to rotate our video. So you see we've got a rotation in our video. And to take this to the last level, let's do media element dot triggers, and let's add an event trigger with the routed event equal to media element dot loaded, and we'll do a begin storyboard. Then we'll do a storyboard, and within that storyboard we'll do let's do a double animation using keyframes. Begin time will obviously be at 0, 0, 0. We'll do storyboard dot target name equals my media. So we'll go up to our media element and do X name equals my media. And then we'll do storyboard dot target property, and I'm going to move this down on the next line so it's a little bit easier to see, because if you haven't done a lot of stuff with animation, the target property can seem a little strange. So what we're going to do is we have to fully qualify our target property, and if it's an attached property, or if it's a property that's inherited from a base element, then you have to include it in parentheses. So this is UI element dot render transform. Alright, and that's because the media element doesn't itself have a media transform or render transform. It uses the render transform from its base, one of its base classes, UI element. And then we'll do dot rotate transform dot angle Okay. So that gives us our double animation using keyframes. So now let's add a spline double keyframe, and we'll do a key time of, and this is the actual time that this particular spline starts, or this keyframe starts, sorry. Value will be 0. Actually, let's start it wherever we've got it. So let's start it at 45. And that's because the current angle is going to be 45. Then let's add another spline double keyframe. I'll just copy and paste that one. And this one's going to be, let's say, 4 seconds. And its value will be, say, 360. We'll go all the way around. Okay. So let's build that. and run it. Here's our video being rotated within the window while the video is playing. So working with video in WPF is actually quite simple, and it's made much more simple by the media element because all we have to really do is set the source. But once we do that, we can treat it like any other element in WPF. We can act upon it, we can rotate it, we can apply clipping paths, we can do things like set opacity and do borders around it. So using video effectively is not very complicated at all. Easy to do with very little having to write very little code.